Chris Verdugo, the executive director of the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus. And with me is, of course, Dr. Tim Seelig, our artistic director. And today we have the one and only incredibly accomplished singer, actor, you name it, father, husband, Cheyenne Jackson. Welcome, Cheyenne.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you guys?
We're
good. How are you?
We're here.
Oh, I'm good today. Today's a pretty good day. It's been it's just been fucking crazy.
It has.
So absolutely nuts. Just trying to, keep it up for my two kids and my 78-year-old mother-in-law who lives with us and my anxious husband and my two dogs and 4 fish. It's a lot. It's a lot to keep positive and be the cheerleader. So I've had some dark days.
It's hard enough for people in our community to go through this alone. I'm sheltering in place with my partner, which is great. I at least have somebody, and there's a dog involved, but I can't imagine you being the cheerleader for that crew. So Cheyenne, that list of participants in your shelter in place is mind-boggling. It's hard for, I would say, most of our community to be alone, and some of us get to have a partner to shelter in place with. But oh my gosh, being the cheerleader for that crew, I can't even imagine what that's like.
I'm very happy that there's this much life in the house, because it definitely gets me out of my head. But yeah, it's been really, really, really challenging.
So tell us about the kids.
Yeah.
How are they sheltering?
Well, they're 3.5. And so they're sheltering with the most energy, the most emotional ups and downs. Every single second it is something different. And Jason and I are just trying to bob and weave and try to navigate their moods, because they're happy and then they're devastated, and then they're we had this great idea to get a puppy right as this was happening, just so they could have something to focus on and we could have something to focus on. And that was it's done. She's here. Her name is Cookie. She's adorable, but it's like you forget, it's like having a newborn again. So it's a bit of a shit show, but the kids are. I read something the other day that we've been thanking the first responders so much, and we've been rightly so. We've been giving accolades to people that need it, but a lot of credit I think should go to our kids, because all of a sudden our kids are staying inside longer than they ever have in their lives. They can't see their friends. They can't go out. They can't go to. My kids haven't even been in the car in a couple of weeks. So it's because if they go in the car, they want to get out and can't go anywhere. So just trying to keep, my goal with them during this is to keep their childhood and their innocence, but also Jason and I are honest with them, to a point that there's stuff going on in the world. People are sick. We have to stay inside to protect them and to protect us. And, it's a day by day, moment by moment situation. But
well, you I've read a lot about you getting in preparation for this. And by the way, I just listened to One Hand, One Heart with the San Francisco Symphony on YouTube. And if any of you have missed it, so tell us about doing West Side Story with the symphony here.
It definitely a top 2 moment in my life and my career. It was just absolutely the perfect storm of everything I was going through in my life at the time. Singing a score that I've always wanted to sing. The most challenging, beautiful score backed by, the most renowned symphony in the world. And with Michael Tilson Thomas, just keeping us in line. But it was I was going through so much right now. Right during that time, I was going through a separation from my husband at the time, and it was just a firestorm of emotion and so much going on. And I was also getting sober, and so there was so much inside of me. And then every night, not having to go out there, but getting to be able to go out on that stage and open up my heart and my throat and sing the score. Alexandra Silver helped me through that emotionally, and I helped her through. And so we are cemented for life. And it's funny you mentioned that recording, because my mother-in-law had never heard it, and I hadn't heard it in probably a couple of years. I just hadn't listened to it. And we listened to it the other night, and it's so good.
Oh, you were all that.
It was, well, not just me, but yeah,
but you nailed it.
Proud of what I did, but it was so emotional, and it was just so cast so beautifully. So yeah, what a highlight for me.
Yeah, and you know, you got to sing it with the conductor who was friends with Bernstein.
Right.
I mean, hello. And all that story is something else. So Cheyenne, I'm the singer conductor. Where did you learn to sing that way? Because it's spectacular. Where did that come from?
It came from, well, I grew up in the woods in northern Idaho, like no running water, outhouse, poor as poor can be. You know, we didn't have anything, but we did. My mom was very musical, and so she played the guitar, and she taught me to sing at a very young age. I had an aptitude for it, so I could sing harmony and I could match pitch. And I didn't, because I always felt so different in that little town, a teeny little town, 1,200 people, very Republican, very white. I always felt like an outsider, and my special safe place was always music. And we had all kinds of music growing up in the house. We didn't have money for me to take like classes or anything. So what I would do, and I think this is why my voice developed like it did, is that I would just listen to all kinds of stuff and mimic it. So my dad loved Roy Orbison and Elvis, which would help me later in life. Right. And Tom Jones. And then my mom loved Joni Mitchell and Joan Baez and Judy Collins and Ella Fitzgerald. And so I think having a sensibility to where there was nothing I thought that I couldn't sing, because I just grew up singing everything. And so that was kind of my foundation. And then when my voice started to develop and change, I became friends in Spokane. When I was about 18, I became friends with a couple of opera singer students and hung out with them. And I kind of got into that world, and I developed a healthy way to support notes. I still had never had any voice lessons, but I just would listen to them. I would listen to their warm-ups. I would watch them warm up and then watch them warm down after a performance. I never had heard of that. They were very careful of their voice. Like we'd go out in the club and we'd be screaming and they'd be like, not for me. So I learned these really good habits early on, I think, that gave me a foundation. And then I think just over time I really take care of my voice. I respect it. And I try to, even to this day, challenge myself and sing things that are at the lowest end and the top, and really work on my passaggio and really work on having there not be a big chunky break in the middle.
Please don't tell all the voice teachers in colleges and universities that you didn't do that route, because, oh boy, you know, from the way you present yourself, the way you sing, the way you handle your instrument, one would think that you had degrees. It's really quite spectacular.
Thank you very much.
I love that story. What religion did you grow up in?
It was non-denominational Christian, you know, very Foursquare, spirit-filled, speaking in tongues, the whole thing. My brother's a pastor here in Southern California. I went on 3 mission trips to Mexico. It was a big, huge part of our lives. I went to a private, very small private Christian school, which was in the same building as our church. It was kind of like Little House on the Prairie, and that there were like 3 people in my grade, and it was from kindergarten to 12th grade. It was called House of the Lord Christian Academy. And it was church, and Jesus and God was my life, up until my senior year in high school. Yeah.
And then you came out early.
I did. I came out at 17. No. I came out at 19. I came out at 19.
You get that.
Yeah. I graduated at 17. I came out at 19. Because I just wanted to get out of my little town, and I just wanted to see what else was out there. I felt so different. And I got involved in community theater, and I did summer stock in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And I did 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. And I think I slept with half of the brothers.
I was going to say, wow, that is perfect. Summer stock gay equals.
I mean, my mind was blown because I'd never been around gay people. I'd never been around lesbians. I'd never been around trans people. I've never been around Black people. I mean, it was my little, Christian white 19-year-old just exploded. And it was, a whole world opened up, and I found my tribe, and I found people that were like me. And so I thought, oh, theater, that's going to be my thing, because I felt like myself for the first time. I'm a big person physically, but I've never been into football or anything like that. Like my little town always, was a small town football mentality. So here's where I could use my physicality in an authentic way. And that was in musical theater. So, wow. Yeah. And so at 19, I came out to my family, and it was tough. It was a really, really tough time.
So, well, Cheyenne, keeping on the subject of being out, you have been out as a gay man in Hollywood a lot longer than most of your career, almost all of your career, right?
Yeah, I've always been out, but I came out publicly at the height of my explosion, I guess, for lack of a better word, in New York when I was doing All Shook Up, the Elvis musical on Broadway, and I was 29, I think. I can't remember, but yeah. So yeah, the New York Times did an article on me, and it was just, I never thought of being in. I thought I'm going to get cast in the way I'm going to get cast. There are things out of my control. I don't want to start living a weird life where I have to use nondescript pronouns in press or any of that. And I feel like if the role is right for me, whether it's a gay role or a straight role, if I'm the right person for it, then that is how I want to start this. So I'm proud of myself that I had the wherewithal when I first started in New York to just be open from the beginning. And then I never had to worry about playing that weird game. My agents at the time, I remember, were like, maybe just kind of be vague about it. Yeah. And it was not an option for me. I had a long-term boyfriend, and we were going to get married, and so anyway, yeah, I came out right off the bat, and people always ask me, do you think you've missed out on anything because of that? And I don't know. Who cares? I mean, if I did, it's not something I would have wanted to be a part of anyway.
Your visibility was so important, and it has been so important. And you've seen, you as an out gay man for most of your career have sort of seen, that evolution of other actors, and you've seen Hollywood evolve. Mm-hmm. I just wonder, what are your thoughts around visibility, especially as it relates to young people, and we're really one of our pillars at the chorus is doing a lot of arts education work with young LGBTQ kids in high schools and in middle schools, and that's it's really important to be visible, and you've been an amazing role model. So I'd just love to know what you think.
Well, thank you. Visibility it's paramount. I mean, young people need to see people that reflect themselves, so they can feel validated, so they can feel whole, so they can feel not other. And it's come a long way. Yeah, visibility even from my age. I'm going to be 45 in a couple months. So even people of my generation, there still were not that many people out, that I could look up to and be like, oh, okay, I can model myself after him or him. It's just a handful. And from me on, Neil Patrick Harris and everybody from my age and then lower, it's just become more and more visible and less of a thing. My whole thing is I've always wanted it to be less of a thing. If we are just ourselves, if I understand how important it is to describe someone as openly gay, because then the younger generation can see like, oh, I can aspire to just be a normal person with a normal life and kids. But after a while, you just want to be a man. You just want to be a guy. And gay, I want to be described gay as down the list a bit. It's one of the least important or least interesting things about me, I think. Visibility is we're at a great place. Like, you just look at this next generation of people. It's just, and now with people identifying as non-binary, and now there's just this free flow. I have to say, even for somebody it's taken me a minute to be like, okay, I got to get out of my own thinking of gay, bisexual, lesbian, trans, and that's it. I mean, I've really had to educate myself too. And even though I'm in our community, and I think there's a lot of us in the same boat, where the conversation is just constantly moving forward, and we all have to grow with the times. So yeah, it's a great time. Gay people playing straight people playing gay, everybody playing everyone, and just creating great art. I feel like it's a good time. I mean, hopefully when this apocalypse is over, we can all start making some art again.
Right. So tell us about a typical day sheltering in place with the crew.
Okay, so we get up at about 6, maybe 6:30. Sometimes the kids will sleep till 7, but normally it's about 6:30. Either Jason or I get up first and take the puppy out, because we're slowly getting her longer times where she can hold it. She's doing a good job. And then the kids, one of them will come into the room and get in bed with us, and then the other one. So we'll have like a family little cuddle time. And then by about 7:30, Jason starts making breakfast, and I run down to our guest house and I hop on the Peloton bike, which thank goodness I got before all of this, because it's keeping me sane. That's also where we have preschool. So then I come up in time, I shower, we finish our breakfast, I get the kids ready. It's important for me to get the kids dressed and ready and like hair done, and so they really feel like they're going to school and it's not just playtime. So no jammies, no ratty hair. I'm trying to like hold on to some sense of normalcy. And then we do preschool until 12:30, and then they come up and we have lunch, and we have a pool here. And so I've been making them swim before their nap, because it makes them really tired, and they both know how to swim, which is great. And then they take a nap, and then during that time, Jason and I try to get as much work done for 2 hours, Zoom calls and meetings. And Jason runs 2 companies, and we're also flipping a house away from this, a different house. We started that prior to this. So we try to get stuff done in that time. And then around 3:45, they both wake up, and then it's playtime, and we just try to like move through the afternoon. Then we have dinner. Grandma makes dinner, and then we all have dinner around the table. And then about 7 o'clock, I give them baths. And then 7:45, 8, I try to get them in bed. And then they go to sleep at about 8:15. Jason and I watch an episode of Ozark, or no news. I don't allow any news at night. It makes me too anxious. And then we both collapse. And then we start. and we start over again.
Mm.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I can. That's a wow. Since your day, a lot of your day revolves around Ethan and Willow, which are beautiful names, by the way. How has being a parent over the last 3.5 years changed you?
I mean, I could talk about this for hours. It's changed my life in every single way. I had heard that once you have kids, you have a capacity to love deeper than you ever felt in your life instantly. But I just thought, okay, great. I mean, we'll see. I mean, I always wanted kids, but my previous relationship, he did not want them. And so I thought, I'll guess I'm just not going to be a dad. When we split up and I met Jason, and we're going on 8 years together now, we both immediately talked about having a family. And I thought, oh my gosh, so I'm not going to be too old to start a family. We can do this. Kids, you know, we got a surrogate, we had a gestational carrier, and we had an egg donor, 2 separate women. And it was the most emotional and incredible and expensive process. And we got to be in the room when it happened. When they were born. And, you know, I was really cool the day of. I was like, I felt like, okay, I got this. Like I'd read all the books, done all the YouTube tutorials. I got the whole thing ready. I got my sleep schedule. I got like my gloves. I'm set, right? And I felt good and calm. And then we're in the emergency room, or the birthing the room where she had to have a C-section because she was having twins, and it was a kind of a high risk pregnancy. And Willow, and I was calm. Jason was kind of freaking out. And then Willow came out first, and I saw her little face, her perfect little alien face, because it's just such a wild thing to see. And I'm telling you, tears shot out of my eyeballs. I fell to the floor, just a tsunami of emotion, and like I've never felt in my whole entire life. And then 2 minutes later, Ethan comes out, and Ethan was born what they call en-caul, which is when the sac is still all, it hasn't broken yet, right? It's very, very rare, and they consider it good luck. So he came out, and he's still in the sac. And all of the nurses run around because they're like, oh my gosh, this is so rare. Watch. Mm-hmm. So we could see him inside, like inside. We're watching him. He hasn't been born yet. And then the doctor like peels away the placenta, and then the amniotic fluid goes away, and he's just like, all of a sudden he's there. And then they gave them right to us, put them right on our chests. Ethan tried to breastfeed right away. I tried, it didn't work. But our sister-in-law was had just had a baby 6 months prior, and she produced a lot of milk, and she did the most loving thing ever. She froze her extra breast milk, and we had freezers of it frozen. And not only that, she wrote little affirmations on the little frozen bags. So like, Willow and Ethan, you are loved. And breast milk is gold to a brand new baby. So for the first 3 months of their life, that's all they had. And it'd be at 2 a.m, I would be, you know, defrosting some breast milk and then reading these messages, like crying, and you know, I mean, so that's the beginning of it. And I mean, having kids, it makes my work so much more important and so much less important, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm only going to do things right now that bring me joy, and I'm only going to take things that, if it takes me out of town, it's got to be worth it, because being away from them, it's a non-negotiable. So I won't take a series that's shoots somewhere else. Everything has to be close, because they're only going to be this age once, and you know, we're all in. And it's the hardest thing I've ever done, It challenges us every single day. It challenges our relationship, me and Jason, but it is, it's mind-blowing. It's so profound.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I've never heard of a gift so beautiful as your sister-in-law. That is, I just can't. And personal note, it's great being a parent. As everyone says, just wait. My son just had twins. So I'm the grandpa of girl twins.
Oh,
yeah. So they're experiencing your joy and your pain all at once.
Yeah, all of it. It's equal. I've never slept deeply since then. I'm always sleeping with one ear open. Whatever. It's a fair trade.
It's amazing. Chris, you have other questions?
Sure. All right. Let's pivot for a minute. That was a beautiful share. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Cheyenne. But let's pivot for a minute and chat about story. And we love that you're on it. And the season Hotel, you worked alongside our favorite mother monster, Lady Gaga. And how was that whole experience? And you guys shared some intimacy there too.
American Horror Story experience was unexpected, a real gift, because I never thought that I would be on a show like that. You know, when I started doing TV, I was started on 30 Rock, and I thought that, oh, this is what I wanted. I was doing musical comedy on Broadway, and 30 Rock is the pinnacle of that. 30 Rock and Veep are just, I think, heads and tails above the rest. So I thought, okay, that's probably what I'll end up doing. And then I became friends with Ryan Murphy through a guest spot on Glee. And then we were taking a spin class together in LA. It's very LA. And he, on the bike, we were riding the bikes next to each other, and he said, "Hey, do you want to be on American Horror Story? And do you want to be married to Lady Gaga?" And I was, it's really loud in there, and I was like, "What? Wait, say that again," because I needed to make sure, because I was and am the hugest Lady Gaga fan. I saw her 4 times in New York before she blew up, and I couldn't even believe it. So, of course, the answer was yes. And then the fear set in, because I just thought, I have my own insecurities about, like we all do. My insecurities as a performer came from that I didn't go to school, and I'm not classically trained. So to be on a show like that with Sarah Paulson and Kathy Bates and Angela Bassett was very daunting. And but Ryan Murphy usually knows what he's talking about. If he believes you can do something, you kind of just throw your hat over the wall and then go get your hat. So it was incredible. And I've been friends with Matt Bomer for a long time, so that was fun. And then, meeting her, I was very nervous, and because I knew that we were going to have very intimate scenes. My first nude scene at 40, and so I go up to her, and she's all in the Countess makeup and hair, and she's very method. On that set, she really liked to kind of be in that the whole time. It was cute. And I walked up to her and said, "Hi, I'm Cheyenne." And she said, "Will Drake." And she put her hand out to me. That was, my character was Will Drake. And I was like, oh shit, like she's like fully in character. I guess I have to just go along with this. And I awkwardly started to kiss her hand, and she's like, "I'm just kidding. Hey, how are you?" And she was just fucking with me. And I said, "So what do I call you? Do I call you Lady?" Or she's like, "Stephanie." So she was the coolest and just easy. And she was a theater girl. She reminds me of my theater friends in New York, Shoshana Bean and Laura Benanti and Laura Bell Bundy. She just is like, she has that vibe. She's a team player. Yes, she's the biggest star in the world. And there were times when all of us on set were just like, "That's Lady Gaga," because she also has that as well. And so it was a wild experience. And I'm really grateful for it because I got to do things I'd never been able to do before. And also work with Sarah Paulson, who I've been friends with on our years in Broadway. And I've gotten to do a lot of great scenes with her. And much like singing and how I learned to sing by listening and mimicking and watching other people's process, as an actor, that's how I have gained more tools in my toolbox since I didn't go to university and I didn't, take formal acting, being on set and doing an interrogation scene with Kathy Bates. There's no better class. Playing Sarah Paulson's doctor in a scene where she has to have a breakdown in front of you and watch her do it all day long, perfectly, slightly different every single time. She's an animal. She is a fucking animal. She is absolutely I just have never experienced that. So and I watched her prepare and I watched her notebooks and all of the research. And so it's been the greatest gift because now I can use all that I've learned on that show in whatever I do,
I have one more question for you, and then we'll part, sadly. Describe for me your new normal when things open up. What do you think that's going to be like?
I think about it all day. I think about what is art going to look like now. I won't go down a path that tells me that Broadway is not going to be anymore, or I just won't let myself go to those depths, because to think of never sitting in a dark Broadway house with 500 strangers watching people up on the stage pouring out their souls and giving us their art, it's too devastating to think about, and I don't believe that will happen. The new normal, I think, is going to look like a lot of changes. Our society is going to be changed forever, and change is really, really hard, and it's really scary. And I had 4 huge things lined up, like the biggest of my life, right before this. I saw a meme that somebody wrote, and they said, how many else of you were just about to get your life together before this whole thing happened? And I was like, yes, totally. Like, exactly. Like, there's just so much, but you know what? This is what has happened, and this is where we are. Yeah. A few of the things have gone away completely, but for me, what my life is going to look like is I'm getting ready to do a new show on Fox, a new series opposite Mayim Bialik, and Swoozie Kurtz is on it, and Leslie Jordan, and it's my first lead in a network series, and it's straight to series. And one of the good things about this pandemic is, for writers, is that is something that you still can do. So they're keeping, things cracking, and hopefully when we can start in the fall or whenever, we'll just hit the ground running. But I think it's going to look different. I think we're all going to be tested. I think we're all going to, who knows what the work thing will be like. My kids in school, they love their preschool. And they need to go, and teachers need to go back to school. My sister is a teacher. Her husband is a teacher. What's that going to look like? I mean, I think it's going to be a matter of taking kids' temperatures and having plans in place. I mean, it boggles the mind. But as cliche as it sounds, the thing that has been giving me peace and getting me through this is knowing we really are in it together. We are. There's no one that's not affected. Yes, you look on Instagram and you see famous people in their 20,000 square foot home. Great. So they're not sheltering in a 1-bedroom apartment like, the majority of people. But guess what? They've lost out on things. They've lost out on jobs. They've lost tons of money. It is all relative, and everyone's life is changed. And that has been giving me some sense of peace, just knowing that we as a society and we as a world are all going through this together. My husband and I are trying to, we're doing counseling, parent counseling, to really just use this. We're using this time to do things that we normally wouldn't have the time to do. And that's something we wouldn't have the time to do. So what does it look like for this?
When you were talking, when you were giving us your daily schedule, which is precious and adorable, you didn't have that schedule 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Right.
You didn't have every day schedule for us as well. Was we did that and we did that and we did, and now look at that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of that we will take forward, no question about it.
I believe so. And we've all had to sit. But my mother-in-law said it best. She's like, this is all this. What this is doing for all of us is shining a giant mirror on all of the things that we've been like kind of not wanting to face. Whether you have, substance abuse problems, or you have food issues, or you have depression, or you have an issue with your husband or your wife, it brings it right up. And that's why so many of us are panicking, because we don't want to have to face those deep, dark sides of ourselves.
Correct.
Your
friend, you mentioned her earlier, Laura Benanti. She did one of our behind the curtain series a couple weeks ago, and of course she's the funniest woman on the planet, I think. But she said, this is like God just came down and said, go to your room and don't come out until you figure out what you've done. And we laughed about that, and only she can deliver that. But go to your room, and what we've all been sent to our room, and hopefully we will figure out some of the things that we were being crazy about, and let those things go.
It's a long time.
I can't even thank you enough for giving us this time. It's so rich. It's so wonderful to hear you talk and watch what you've done from 19 until you admitted that you're 45. You said that, I didn't. And the things that you've done in 25 years are the things of a lifetime, a whole lifetime. And you can look at where you are right now and know that you've lived a really good life, and you've changed a lot of people by just being Cheyenne. And
you make me cry at the end here. Thank you. That means everything to me. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And give the kid.
Thank you, Cheyenne.
Give Cookie a hug.
I will.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, stay safe. Love you guys.
Bye. Take care. Love you too. Bye-bye.